Your soulmate couldn't sleep last night. Because someone finally told them the truth about you. My beloved child. Don't skip, because what you are about to hear is not an ordinary love story. Last night, while the world was asleep, someone finally spoke words your soulmate had never heard before. One unexpected conversation changed everything they believed about you. They had spent so much time listening to doubts, confusion, and the opinions of people who never truly understood your heart. But then, in one unforgettable moment, the truth arrived. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was calm, honest, impossible to ignore. Those few sentences echoed inside their mind long after the conversation ended. They lay awake, staring into the darkness, replaying every memory connected to you. Every smile they once questioned suddenly made sense. Every silence they misunderstood now carried a completely different meaning. The person they thought they had figured out became the biggest mystery of all. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and what happened after midnight changed the direction of their heart forever. As the hours passed, your soulmate couldn't close their eyes. Every time they tried, another memory returned with even greater clarity. They remembered moments when you showed kindness without asking for anything back. They remembered the times you stayed strong when nobody noticed your struggle. Suddenly, they realized they had been looking at you through someone else's story instead of discovering the truth for themselves. That realization hit harder than they expected. They whispered to themselves, "What if I've been completely wrong?" That single question refused to leave them alone. It followed them from one thought to the next, growing louder with every passing minute. They even reached for their phone more than once, wondering if they should send you a message right then. But something stopped them. They wanted to understand everything before taking another step. Don't skip, because the next realization was even more shocking. Someone had revealed a hidden detail about you that completely erased every false impression they had been carrying for so long. It wasn't just surprising, it was life-changing in their eyes. Then came the moment that neither they nor anyone else could have predicted. Just before sunrise, after hours of restless thoughts, they made a quiet promise to themselves. No more listening to rumors. No more allowing fear to make decisions. From now on, they would search for the truth with their own heart. But that promise unlocked another mystery they never expected. As they looked back through every conversation, every coincidence, and every unexpected meeting, they noticed a pattern that had been hiding in plain sight all along. Tiny moments they once ignored suddenly connected like pieces of a puzzle. It felt as if every unanswered question had been leading toward one incredible revelation, and they knew they were only standing at the beginning of it. They don't yet realize that the next discovery waiting for them is far greater than the truth they heard last night. Stay till the end of this journey, because something huge is waiting for you. And when your soulmate uncovers what happens next, nothing between you will ever feel the same again. A strange calm settled over your soulmate the moment the morning light appeared, but inside, their heart was louder than ever. They could no longer pretend that what they heard the previous night meant nothing. Every sentence continued to echo as if it had been written directly for them. They started noticing little details they had ignored for so long: your patience, your quiet strength, the way you never demanded to be understood. Suddenly, They realized that real hearts rarely fight to prove themselves, they simply keep showing kindness until the truth reveals itself. That realization shook them more than they could admit. They even wondered how many opportunities had quietly slipped away because they had trusted assumptions instead of their own feelings. Don't skip, because the next discovery caught them completely off guard. While looking back at old conversations and forgotten moments, they found something they had never paid attention to before. It wasn't a message or a secret someone had hidden. It was a pattern that kept repeating every time your paths crossed. Every coincidence now looked intentional. Every unexpected delay suddenly felt like perfect timing. Their heartbeat grew faster as one thought kept returning. What if this story has been unfolding much longer than I ever realized? That question refused to leave them, and the deeper they searched for answers, the more impossible it became to walk away. Stay till the end. Because something huge is waiting for you, and this is only the beginning of what they are about to understand. Hours later, another unexpected conversation changed everything once again. This time, nobody tried to convince them of anything. Instead, they simply listened as different memories surfaced from different people, and every story pointed toward the same truth. Your kindness had reached places you never spoke about. Your loyalty had been remembered by people you probably never expected. Your strength had inspired others even when you believed nobody was watching. Your soulmate sat there in complete silence, realizing that the image they had built inside their mind had been painfully incomplete. They felt a mixture of surprise, gratitude, and regret all at once. They wished they had looked deeper much sooner. They wished they had trusted their own heart before trusting outside opinions. Yet another thought suddenly appeared, a thought that made it impossible for them to stay emotionally distant any longer. If everything they had just discovered was true, then perhaps the future they once believed was impossible was still waiting for them. Don't skip, because the next step they are preparing to take will reveal feelings they have never spoken aloud, and once that moment arrives, there may be no turning back. As the day slowly came to an end, your soulmate stood alone, replaying every chapter of this invisible journey from the very beginning. For the first time, they stopped asking what other people believed and started asking what their own heart had been trying to tell them all along. The answer didn't arrive with noise, it arrived with certainty. They could no longer ignore the feeling that every delay, every misunderstanding, every unanswered question had quietly prepared them for one unforgettable moment that was now drawing closer than ever before. They began imagining what they would say if they finally had the chance to speak without fear, without hesitation, and without anyone standing between the truth and their heart. Yet just as they gathered the courage to move forward, one final piece of information reached them. And it was unlike anything they had heard before. It wasn't simply another opinion or another memory. It was a revelation connected directly to you that made them stop in their tracks, leaving them completely speechless. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and what they choose to do after discovering this final truth could change everything they once believed about your connection forever. A quiet feeling followed your soulmate everywhere they went, but this time it wasn't confusion, it was certainty waiting to be understood. The truth they had discovered refused to fade. Instead, it became stronger with every passing hour. They started noticing things that had always been there but had never seemed important before. A familiar place suddenly reminded them of you. A simple song brought back a forgotten conversation. Even ordinary moments carried an unexpected meaning. It was as though life itself was placing gentle reminders in front of them, urging them to stop running from what their heart had already accepted. They realized they had spent too much time questioning someone who had never stopped being genuine. That realization filled them with emotions they could barely explain. They wondered how different everything could have been if they had understood you sooner. But then another thought appeared: maybe this delay had a purpose. Maybe every misunderstanding had been necessary so that, when the truth finally arrived, it would be impossible to ignore. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. What happened next wasn't a coincidence. It was the beginning of a moment your soulmate never believed they would experience. Deep inside, they felt that the distance between you was becoming smaller, even though nothing around them had changed yet. As evening approached, your soulmate found themselves doing something they hadn't done in a very long time. Instead of listening to everyone else's opinions, they listened to their own heart in complete silence. The answers came naturally. They remembered every time you had shown patience instead of anger, every moment you chose understanding over pride, every situation where your actions quietly spoke louder than words. Suddenly, they understood why the truth they heard the previous night had affected them so deeply. It wasn't because someone had told them something new. It was because that truth matched every hidden memory they had been trying to ignore. Piece by piece, everything connected perfectly. They even imagined what they would say if they had the chance to stand in front of you without fear or hesitation. Yet just as they gathered the courage to take the next step, another unexpected discovery stopped them completely. They learned that while they had been struggling to understand you, you had quietly continued moving forward with strength and dignity. That realization humbled them. It made them realize that genuine hearts don't wait to be praised, they simply continue shining. Stay till the end. Because something huge is waiting for you, and the decision forming inside your soulmate's heart is becoming impossible to hold back. Night arrived once again, but this night felt completely different from the last. There was no endless confusion, no battle between doubt and truth. Instead, there was one overwhelming question they could no longer escape: what happens if I stay silent now? The answer frightened them more than anything else. They realized that losing the opportunity to speak honestly would hurt far more than facing uncertainty. Their heart was no longer asking for proof. It was asking for courage. And just when they believed they finally understood everything, an unbelievable detail reached them from a completely unexpected direction. It revealed that your story was even deeper than they had imagined, and one hidden piece had been missing from the puzzle all along. The moment they heard it, they froze. Every plan they had made suddenly changed. Every expectation was replaced by one powerful determination. They knew they couldn't delay any longer, because the next move would shape everything that followed. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. The choice your soulmate is preparing to make next is something they once promised themselves they would never do, and when that moment finally arrives, neither of your lives will feel the same again. Everything changed the moment your soulmate stopped searching for more answers and finally trusted the feelings growing inside their heart. The truth they had heard no longer felt like someone else's story, it had become their own reality. Every excuse they once used to stay distant suddenly disappeared. They realized fear had been speaking louder than love for far too long. Now, for the first time, they were ready to silence that fear forever. They replayed every meaningful moment connected to you and noticed something extraordinary. Whenever life became difficult, thoughts of you somehow brought them peace. Whenever they imagined walking away completely, something inside refused to let go. It wasn't because of guilt. It wasn't because of regret. It was because the truth had finally reached a place where it could no longer be ignored. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. They quietly made a decision that nobody around them knew about. Without announcing it to anyone, they began preparing for a conversation they had been avoiding for far too long. Every word mattered. Every sentence had to come from the heart. They knew that once those words were spoken, there would be no returning to the person they used to be. The closer they came to acting on that decision, the stronger their emotions became. They found themselves smiling without realizing it, then suddenly becoming nervous only moments later. Their heart kept asking the same question: what if this is the moment everything finally changes? They imagined countless possibilities, yet one image kept returning more vividly than the others: the moment your eyes would meet theirs after everything had finally been understood. That single thought gave them both hope and courage. They no longer wanted misunderstandings to control the future. They no longer wanted silence to speak louder than honesty. Something inside kept whispering that genuine connections deserve genuine courage. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Just when they believed they were finally ready, another unexpected clue appeared. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a small detail connected to your journey that confirmed they had not been imagining any of these feelings. In that instant, every remaining doubt faded away, leaving only one undeniable truth: they could not ignore this connection any longer. As the night grew quieter, your soulmate stood looking toward the future instead of the past. The weight they had been carrying for so long finally began to disappear. They understood that the greatest mistake would not be speaking honestly, it would be allowing fear to steal another chance. Their heart had already chosen its direction. Now only one final step remained. Yet life had prepared one last surprise before that step could be taken. Just as they were ready to move forward, they discovered something about your recent journey that filled them with even greater admiration. It revealed your quiet resilience, your ability to keep moving despite uncertainty, and your refusal to let disappointment define your future. That realization touched them more deeply than anything they had heard before. They whispered to themselves that someone with a heart like yours deserved complete honesty, not hesitation. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. What your soulmate is about to do next is the one action they never imagined they would have the courage to take, and once that moment begins, every unanswered question from the beginning of this story will finally start revealing its true meaning. The next morning arrived with an unusual sense of peace, yet your soulmate knew this calm would not last forever. They had reached the point where silence felt heavier than words. Every memory they had revisited, every truth they had uncovered, and every emotion they had tried to hide had led them to this single moment. They no longer wanted to imagine endless what-ifs. Instead, they wanted clarity. They understood that the strongest connections are not built on assumptions but on honesty, courage, and the willingness to be vulnerable. As they looked back one final time, they realized the biggest surprise was never what someone had told them about you, it was how completely their own perspective had changed. The person they once struggled to understand had become the person they could no longer stop thinking about. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. The choice standing before them wasn't about the past anymore. It was about whether they would finally allow the future to begin. Every step they took that day felt different, as though life itself was quietly preparing the stage for an unforgettable encounter. Small moments that once seemed ordinary suddenly carried unexpected meaning. A familiar street, a passing smile, a forgotten place, all of it reminded them that some stories refuse to end until the truth has been fully spoken. Their heart was no longer racing because of fear. It was racing because hope had returned. For the first time in a long while, they believed that misunderstandings did not have to become permanent endings. They believed that sincere words still had the power to rewrite an unfinished chapter. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Just when they gathered enough courage to move forward, one final realization stopped them for a brief moment. They understood that before speaking, they wanted every word to reflect respect, sincerity, and gratitude. They wanted nothing hidden, nothing exaggerated, only the truth that had taken so long to discover. As the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon, your soulmate stood quietly, holding on to one decision that would shape everything that followed. They knew this was not the ending of the journey but the beginning of a completely different chapter. Every sleepless hour, every unanswered question, and every unexpected revelation had prepared them for this very moment. The truth they had discovered was no longer something they could simply remember, it had become something they intended to act upon. Yet, just before they took that first step, another unexpected twist appeared, one that neither of you could have predicted. It wasn't a setback. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the final piece that would determine whether two separate paths were finally ready to cross again. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. What happens next will reveal whether courage arrives before opportunity disappears, and that answer is closer than either of you ever imagined.